Tracy with MeatRx. I'm a MeatRx coach, and I'm here today with Coach Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
Thank you for coming, and I wanted to start out and hear your success story, and if you would tell me about your health conditions and what kind of diet you ate before you came to a meat-based diet.
Sure. I was raised like an average American kid on a standard American diet. I was free to eat whatever I wanted. My parents both worked, so we got home from school and raided the pantry. Never really had any idea that we weren't supposed to actually eat any of that stuff. I had a grandfather who said we weren't allowed to drink sodas before noon, and that was about the only limitation I ever had. So as a kid, I had lots of allergies. I was allergic to dust and grass and basic anything in my house. And my cats, my parents had tons of cats that I was deathly allergic to. And I had asthma. In about the second grade, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And I had lots of anger. I'd throw just giant fits. That followed me into adulthood. I had more control over it, but I still get to the tipping point where I just explode and scream at somebody. It didn't matter if it was my boss or a coworker or my husband. And now it's my children. When I was 16, I was diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian cyst. And I actually remember the doctor telling me when I was in the hospital that it was controlled by carbs, and that if I cut my carbs, I could control it. But I had no idea what that actually meant, and I was 16, so I didn't care. And I went about my life. I ended up in the hospital two times after that, just with severe pain from these cysts popping. But it wasn't until I was about 23. I had a big dog and I wanted to know how much he weighed. So I picked him up and I stepped on a scale, and then I put him down so I could weigh myself to do the math to figure it out. And I was 198 pounds and I had no idea. I don't even know the last time I'd weighed myself. So that was kind of my wake up call.
Oh, okay. So were those your only conditions, the PCOS and ADHD and
Asthma
and your weight?
And allergies, yeah. And yeah, the weight that I had, I never really thought of this as a problem, I guess. I don't know. Nobody ever really, my mom teased me here and there, and my grandma, but I never really thought of it. And none of my friends ever teased me about it. I wasn't bullied for it or anything. Mm-hmm. So it was never a problem to me. I never really realized it.
Okay. So on your journey, did you try other diets before you came to the meat-based diet?
I did several times. So when I was 23, I started running, and I started eating just really high protein, really low fat. I still, at that point, really didn't understand nutrition. I didn't understand what an actual carb was. So I lived on vegetables, chicken breast, egg whites, and cottage cheese. And I lost a ton of weight. I was 198 pounds, and I got down to like 128. But I was starving, and I was probably angrier than I was before. And I was drinking a lot because I was in my 20s, and so I was getting tons of carbs from the alcohol, I'm sure. But I lost all the weight, and then later I met my husband, and by the time we got married, I was back up to 185 pounds. But I was happy, and I was happy fat and had no idea. And then after we had our son, I was 232 pounds. So I went back on the only diet I ever knew, and I lost all the weight again, got back down to about 165, and got pregnant again. And when my son was born, I did the diet again. Actually, I had like this idea where I just decided that I was going to be fat, and I was okay with it, and I wasn't going to do anything. And then my older one started preschool, and I decided to strap the little one on, and I started walking like 10 miles a day and eating that low fat, killing myself diet, starving. And one day I had a friend from the school tell me about the keto diet, and I thought she was crazy, but then I looked into it and it was all low carb, and it was suddenly what that doctor said to me kind of just came back. So I looked into it for a couple weeks and I just dove straight into keto, and it was like night and day. You know, I wasn't hungry. I felt better. I was more alert. I had lots of energy, and I did it for about 9 months, and I got my family into it about 6 months after I was into it. And we were doing a lot of research about it all the time because we were so into it. And my husband was watching a Dr. Ken Berry video, and he was like, this carnivore thing sounds like you should check it out. And I'd already seen it and I've heard of it, but it was like I'd already put my family through so much that I was just like, he's going to think I'm crazy if I even bring it up. So he brought it up to me, and I was kind of like a green light. So I read more about it for like about 2 weeks, and then I just dove in, and like everything I felt as keto, like the whole transition of energy and clarity, it was like times 100. So it was like, you know, I get up at 6 in the morning, I wake straight up, I don't drink coffee anymore, I have so much energy, I chase the kids around all day, then I go to the gym, and then I'm coming home and I'm laying in bed like, okay, you need to go to sleep so we can do this over again. So that's my transition to carnivore. I'm not starving to death anymore. And my low fat diet was like 1,000 calories or less a day. So I was just basically starving myself.
Yeah, that sounds like it. So the carnivore allowed you to eat and you felt a lot better.
Definitely.
So what all kinds of foods do you eat in a day?
So I do a lot of experimenting just because I'm still trying to figure out my hormones. So recently I've been trying to eat a lot more fish and like scallops and sardines. And I'm really a big fan of OMAD. I feel like if I try to do 2 meals, I don't know, I'm like mentally can't stop eating. So it's like, oh, I'll eat from 11 to 4. Well, it's from 11 to 4. I just find myself grazing.
Oh,
So I find that when I do OMAD, I just like, okay, I'm going to eat at noon. I eat as much as I need. And then it's like I turn my brain off and I don't have to think about food again until the next day. So it's usually like a ribeye and some sort of fish recently.
oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So did your health conditions all improve when you went carnivore? You said more so even after doing keto. They improved from keto, but more so.
Yeah. So I noticed my asthma was a lot better on keto, but I was still, you know, having a drink here or there, which would really like spike it up to where like I don't know, the histamines, I guess, in the alcohol just would make it so I couldn't breathe. But the other day I was cleaning my bathroom and I actually threw my inhaler away because it was expired. I haven't used it in so long. So, I mean, and that's like, I can run 5 miles and I'm not using my inhaler. But my ADD, I think my ADD's kind of turned more into OCD as I've gotten older. Like I find myself like when I'm walking, I don't like to step on cracks and weird things, but I'm definitely more focused. And I've noticed a lot of like mental clarity, like just driving my car. Like I used to get mad at the person in front of me for slamming on their brakes or something. And now it's just like, I'm not in a hurry. I don't really care. You know, it's like, things that used to really egg me on, I just let them go now. It doesn't bother me like it used to, which is big because it used to just, something simple could just set me off out of nowhere for, I don't know why. Mm. And then my PCOS, I would say, is better. I think I'm still healing. think there's just a lot of healing going on from like my childhood of basically eating Doritos and Pepsi. So it's gotten better. I used to have a cycle like twice a year, and I had like 4 last year, and they're getting closer and closer as we go on. So that's been nice, and I don't have any of like the pain from the cysts. I used to have just constant cramps, and I don't know if that was the vegetables giving me the cramps or just the actual cysts themselves, but I used to just have lots of pain all the time. Basically, constantly felt like, oh, today's the day I'm going to start my cycle. Oh, I must be getting ready to start because, so, you know, even though I'd only have it every few months, I constantly felt like, oh, it must be coming because I'm in so much pain. But I don't have any of that anymore, actually. And when I have my cycle, it's like, oh, wow, that's here. I had no idea. Like, okay. No wonder I was feeling a tiny bit bloated, but so that's been really great.
Cool. I love to hear good stories like that.
Yeah.
Where people get healed and get strong. And so you do walking and running. Do you do other kinds of exercise, weightlifting or anything?
I do. I'm really into CrossFit. So I do CrossFit about 3 to 4 days a week. And then my CrossFit gym has a barbell club where we do lifting 2 days a week. So that, and then I walk my dog every morning for about 45 minutes at least. And sometimes I run, but not as often as I used to.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So you're a coach at MeetRx, and what's your coaching strategy if you were helping someone to find out about the carnivore diet? Have you helped other people besides your own family, or?
Just actually, I've converted a best friend over. Just she was real paleo, and I actually didn't have to do much. She just watched me for a few months, and then she's, you know, questioned me along the way. But I haven't had any clients yet, so I don't really know about my strategy other than I'm a really good listener, and I've done a lot of experiments. So I'm hoping that if there comes across a problem that I can, you know, kind of say, well, this is what I did differently. There was a time where I was giving myself way too much magnesium and found that out the hard way. So I just want to, if I just can help one person and they can help one person and just make a chain reaction is really like the basic, I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
Strategy, yeah, the basic
strategy, yeah. So
yeah, so you that's cool that you helped your friend and everything. And I know you've been a carnivore for a year now, and so I know that you've had a lot of experience, and that will really help people. And listening to people, that's a big part of helping, because then they can express what they're trying to find out about carnivore. So
exactly, it's not one size fits all. So it's, yeah, my friend is completely different than me, and she has a lot of different problems. But so it's like, you know, I'll just get online and search other things and say, well, hey, this is what I found, so why don't you try this? And she'll try it, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, in the end, we work it out and we find something that works for her.
yeah, that sounds great. So tell me about the over magnesium. What happened?
Oh, I like to do fasting from time to time too. And I was drinking this mixture called 40,000 volts. And I didn't pay attention to the magnesium that was in there. And but I was fasting, so I was trying to stay really hydrated. So I was drinking a lot of it. And it's basically, it says to have like a teaspoon a day. But I was like, oh, well, I'm fasting. So I was drinking it like in 3 different bottles of water a day. And I started getting really loose stool. And then my friend called me and she's like, I don't know what happened, but I threw up last night, and in the middle of it, I had to turn around and it was not pretty. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. Because like, at first I thought there was like something wrong with my eggs. And I was like, I don't understand what is wrong with, maybe it's my eggs because we're both sharing the same eggs. And my husband's like, I eat those eggs every day. They're fine. I don't know what you're thinking. And I just happened to pick up the bottle and I was like, wow, that's a lot of magnesium.
Oh,
So yeah, so we both like went cold turkey, cut it out. And yeah, like 2 days later we were good. So now we don't go over the teaspoon a day, but.
okay. Do you do what kind of do you do extended fasting or intermittent or?
Well, I do the OMAD, so I usually do about 20. I try to eat around like noon every day. That way, I'm good by the time I get to the gym at 6. But yeah, my longest is 91 hours. Just every once in a while, I just like to just clean it out, and I like the whole autophagy idea, cleaning my cells. There's a lot of like cancer in my family that I figure if I can starve those bad boys out and give myself a better chance, then it's not going to hurt me not to eat for a couple days to do something for my health.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So, someone just starting out in carnivore, would you just tell them to start eating meat, or how do you tell them to start out with carnivore? Do you eat cheese and eggs and stuff like that, or?
I eat eggs a couple times a week, not very often. I only eat the yolks. I don't like the way the whites feel. I can't explain it. Something is off. I don't like the way they make, I don't know what it is. I can't explain. Everybody's like, well, how does it make you feel? And I'm like, icky. I don't know. And cheese just really stalls me. So I try not to eat it. I notice that when I eat it, it's like, oh, I'm just going to have a piece. And then the next day it's like, I'm just going to have 2 pieces. And then, so it's like, when I fast, it's when I cut it off. I'm like, okay, I'm giving up cheese. And then I'll just hold out as long as I can until I break again. And so it's not forbidden, but it's not good for me.
Oh, okay.
So there's not really a blanket way to tell somebody to start carnivore. I would say like somebody on like keto, I would say you could probably dive pretty much headfirst in, depending on what you ate. Like for me, I ate a lot of almonds, so I had some really bad oxalate dumping. Like I had really bad pain in my ankles for about 3 nights. And I mean, if I didn't know that it was going to be so much better and that I just had to get through it, I probably would have given up. But I'd also at the same time, I was like, well, I don't ever want to have to go through this again, so I'm just going to power through it. Well, knowing what I know now, if I would have like steadily decreased my high oxalate foods, I probably would have been a lot better off.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it's hard. That's part of that listening, where you have to listen to what people were doing before. Like standard American diet, I've heard a lot of people talk about starting with just 1 carnivore meal for a couple days and then going to 2 carnivore meals, and then doing for like, a couple weeks or something, and then doing 3 like for 2 days in a row, and then having a regular meal. And then, so I've heard like different people like on podcasts talk about different ways. So I think it really just depends on what the diet of the person was before.
Right. Oh, okay. And the listening, that's really good.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Katie, for sharing your story. I know it'll help a lot of people. It's really inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for setting it up.
Sure.
Right.
See ya.
Have a good day.
You too.